What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Rehab Project. I am Brett Kelly. Just kicking off this podcast. It's been a little bit time for us since we've had a podcast on here, so I wanted to get back in the swing of things. Figured the best kind of topic to get going again is really just talking about my experience in the strength and conditioning world, how I got into kind of the rehab setting of the strength and conditioning world, and just some overall lessons I learned along the way. So hopefully this one helps out some young strength coaches, young PTs, just ATs, whoever you are, and you're looking to get in the industry. Hopefully, this is something that can help you out. So, going to kick it off right away. Really, for me, the biggest thing that I usually tell young strength coaches, if they have no clue what they want to do, which let's face it, most of us don't, even once we're doing it, don't know exactly how we want to get involved in it, and it just changes throughout our whole career path. That's kind of how I got into the whole rehab side of it, but really is just to go out and observe different coaches. That way you get to know a lot of different philosophies. You get to see how people get coached, how different coaches react to that. You get to go out, maybe do therapy, not do therapy, but go out and work with different therapists, see the therapy they're doing as well. Try to find some stuff that interests you. You know, you're obviously more likely to do some more in-depth research on your own and spend time studying it if it's something you're overall interested in. Me, for instance, I had thought about doing physical therapy school. I went to University of Missouri and went and shadowed some PTs. And looking back, it was probably the wrong people I shadowed that were doing more knee replacements, hip replacements, older population. Not really obviously where I wanted to get into since I'm in the fitness world and work with more athletes. So I decided that wasn't for me, and I ended up finding strength and conditioning. So I went out, find some places that I could do some coaching, and that's going to be kind of my number two. My second point for today is find places you can coach. If you are trying to be a strength conditioning coach, even if you're just trying to do physical therapy or athletic training, but you know you want to get into the kind of the strength side of it as well, go out and get experience coaching. I think that's another big pitfall that a lot of young people do is they go out and they think they need to get all the CEUs in the world. They need to go out, get all the certifications in the world. I'll be honest, when I get a resume from somebody, it could have 100 certifications on there and CEUs, but if they don't have any coaching experience, I'm usually not very interested in them. So that for me is that number one thing, right? And I don't care if it's go down to the YMCA and find a local youth basketball team that you can take out and coach. Coaching is coaching. You're gonna get better at it. You're gonna find that coaching voice, which is very hard for a lot of young coaches. You're gonna learn how to connect with people. So without that experience of physically going out and doing that, it's going to be a big gap to get you from book learning, CEU certifications to actually taking that to the field or to the gym. So that's something that's big. I tell a lot of young athletes too, and you know I go through a lot of resumes when we're doing internships, and that's a huge gap that I see a lot of times. So definitely get out there and do that coaching. For me, that was again in that same point when I was at University of Missouri, thinking about PT, not sure what I wanted to do. Found out that this whole strength and conditioning thing is an actual profession as well. And I was playing rugby there for University of Missouri and started writing some programs just for teammates, and found out it was something that I enjoyed doing. And so then I got to practice actually writing the programs, and then got in and worked with some youth teams as well, and started actually getting in front of people and coaching and getting past the scary part of learning how to run programs and run groups and stuff. So that's definitely the number one thing I would say. And then, you know, after that, I think for me, and talking to a lot of young strength coaches, this is the case too. Networking and getting to know people in the industry is something big, and not just networking to network, but actually trying to build relationships. So, you know, if I'm going to events, if I'm interviewing places, if I'm working places, whatever, really trying to build those relationships with your coworkers, with you know, people that are in the industry, because you never know where that's going to take you, really. And I can kind of go off of experience here and tell you about, you know, my background. Um, so again, graduated University of Missouri, went to Logan University to get a master's. Then I went and worked exercise physiology just for a hospital, and looking back, I was like, what, why am I doing this? It was just a job, right? Not what I wanted to do. So I went out and wanted to find some more stuff. I found an internship with the U.S. ski team, and honestly, I got lucky enough to get selected for that. Went out, did my internship there, built tons of good relationships there. I was there for almost 6 months, I want to say, working with different coaches and building relationships with the other interns and the athletes and the physical therapists and really just everybody. And again, not doing it because it was something that you felt like you needed to do, but actually trying to build those relationships and make friendships. From there, I was able to get a position with the St. Louis Cardinals, and that was through my relationship with my mentor, Mike Bond, who had a lot of background in strength and conditioning with Major League Baseball and the NHL. But so he was able to help facilitate me getting a job with the Cardinals, and then that inevitably helped me get a job with St. Louis University. From there, my old boss that was with the Cardinals with, who again I built a relationship with, Rachel Balkovic. She found out about an opening with the White Sox that was full time. At this point, I was still a part-time strength coach because that's kind of how it is early on. And she thought of me, so she had reached out to me. She basically told their director there, Dale Torborg, that I'd be a great strength coach, and she kind of just gave the blessing to him, and he just called me to talk to me for about 20 minutes and then offered me the position. So there was no applying for that job or anything, which is rare for sure, but just again going to know, like, knowing that those relationships do, you never know who they're going to be, but they're going to be the ones that help you more than anything else in this field and probably most fields in the world. So then I went to the White Sox, worked there for a number of years. And throughout this whole time, I had kept these connections with the athletic trainers, with the athletes, with the coaches, with the U.S. ski team, because that was always a long-term goal of mine, was to get back there. And inevitably, there ended up being an opening, and I had Mike Bond reached back out, and some people from the U.S. ski team reached back out. At this point, he was the head strength conditioning coach there, and they said there was an opening they thought I'd be great for free skiing, so they brought me out for an interview, and ended up getting that position and working there. Got to go through whole Olympic cycle and made some great relationships, great memories there, and then from there bounced over to working with Exos here in St. Louis. So me and my wife wanted to move back to St. Louis. Again, networking thing. I had a connection with the St. Louis Cardinals already because I had worked there a long time ago. I knew one of their head physicians, Dr. Mahaffey. My one of our old physicians with the ski team, Dr. Kutcher, he had connections in the NHL because he's one of the main concussion doctors for the NHL. He and him became very close. We shared a place during the Olympics when we were in Korea together, so had a lot of good memories there. So he had reached out to the St. Louis Blues staff to see if there's any openings. I had reached out to the Cardinal staff to see if there's any openings just in the area, and they were all like, yeah, Centene Ice Center is opening up where the Blues practice, and Exos is partnering up with Mercy to have a facility there. So they're looking for somebody, and sure enough, I applied and got the position. So, all that being said, that's my background. Everybody's going to be a little bit different, but every single step of that way wouldn't have happened if I didn't build a relationship with somebody else. So, building that relationship is by far, I think, the biggest thing you can do to get those jobs in that next one. Sure, you have to know how to coach. You have to know, what you're doing when it comes to actually building up the athletes and peaking and helping rehab injuries and stuff. And that's all the nuts and bolts that you need to know. You need to study on your own or go out and find an education. But if you're not able to build those relationships and communicate with people effectively, getting those next couple jobs is going to be difficult because you're not going to have those those relationships you can rely on or those people that can refer you for jobs. So, if I could have a piece of advice for any coach, it's build those communication skills, not only for your athletes, but also for your coworkers and people that are above you or your interns below you or whatever. So building that is huge for sure. And that's the only reason I am where I am today. That kind of ropes me into the next point I was going to have, which really comes down to like the interviewing process. And, I've gone through a lot of interviews myself. I've interviewed a lot of people for positions in the strength conditioning world. Once you get to that top, let's say when I was with the internship with the ski team, we'd get 100 applicants. So once we get to that top 20, maybe that top 10, everybody's resume is pretty much the same, meaning they're going to bring the same level of experience. Sure, you'll have that one off sometimes that has a ton of experience, and that might be a little bit different, but usually everybody has pretty much the same level of experience. So then at that point, it goes back to what I just talked about: communication. Is this person able to communicate with you? The thing I always say, kind of jokingly, is like, when I interview this person, I'm going to be spending pretty much every day with this person. Do I feel like I could go out and have a beer with them or whatever? Just able to spend time with them on a day-to-day basis, able to communicate with them on a day-to-day basis. Do I think they're going to build relationships with my athletes on a day-to-day basis? That kind of stuff is huge. And if you don't have that, you don't have buy-in. If you don't have buy-in, it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. They aren't going to care. They're not going to do necessarily what you say. They're going to be complaining. It's going to be a rough environment, which is inevitably probably going to lead to either you getting fired or you quitting. So having that communication side of things is huge. And the old adage of athletes aren't going to care how much you know until they care, or until they know how much you care. Wow, I really butchered that guy. And that's so true. Like, when I was with, again, U.S. ski team, I worked with Aerials, was one of the teams I worked with, and part of their training, their sport is jumping off massive jumps, doing doubles, triples in the air with up to 5 twists, landing on a super steep landing, and then skiing down. So it's one jump. They're trying to keep the body as straight as possible, so they have to go very high in the air. So to kind of keep the landing a little bit safer, we actually will go out and chop the hill. So the entire team gets in the hill. They'll sit there and use shovels, chop the hill to make it a little bit softer. And then the coaches, a lot of times, when people land, they'll go back down, they'll chop the hill. If it's cloudy out, they'll chop up pine trees, throw the pine trees, across the landing to make it differentiate from the sky a little bit. So when they're flipping and twisting, they can spot their landing better. So all that kind of stuff has always had been done by our coaches. And when I started with the ski team, they practiced out at Park City in the winter, and that was something that I wanted to get as involved as I can with my teams. And that means you're doing stuff on the field, on the hill with them as well. You're not just in the gym. You're building those relationships. You're showing that you're willing to go that extra mile. You want to be another coach, not just a strength coach, right? So I was out there in the field, I was out there on the hill with them in the freezing cold. I was next to my athletes, helping chop, helping my coaches out so they could concentrate on coaching by being on the hill, filling those holes when people land, throwing the pine when people land. And that was something when I started doing it. I remember, like, I had coaches even say to me, "Oh, we haven't had a coach out here really doing this." So that initial buy-in, I think that helped out a ton with my athletes, because they saw that I was willing to do what was needed to be done to help the team as a whole. And then they just trusted me overall. So, obviously there's a little bit more of that to building trust, but I think things like that along the way are going to help build trust with your athletes. If it's something where you don't have a full team, maybe you're doing individual training, you're doing therapy with people, getting out and seeing your athletes compete. I know that's always huge. Now that I work in the private sector, if I can get out and see a game with some of my athletes and they're actually playing, or maybe they're first came back after an injury or something, getting out and seeing them, that's something that I think they notice, and they notice that you actually care quite a bit, and that's going to go miles. So that's something that I would say too, is try to figure out where you can help as much as possible. So funny story about that. I actually, on my resume still, I haven't applied anywhere since Exos, but on my resume still, it says Olympic level pine thrower. And I put that on there because I wanted, if somebody saw that, to ask, and that could kind of open up the door to me talking about how I'm willing to do more than what my actual job title just says. So that's just a kind of funny anecdote there. And then, lastly, I want to talk about how really all of this stuff that I had brought up can kind of be brought into the business world as well. I know not everybody listening is going to end up working pro college settings. A lot of us work in the private sector where I'm at now. And I have recently, in the last year, taken over the general manager role, and I'm doing a lot more sales than I've ever done in my life. But I think treating it the same way as I do with my athletes and building that trust is for me has been the best thing that I can do, knowing I'm not going to get every sale, and that's okay because what I'm selling is not for everybody. I would rather the people that come in to me know what they're going to get, and me know that what I'm going to be offering them is going to be very successful for them and very beneficial. And then you're going to see, everything grow from there because those people are going to get better results. They're going to refer you out more to more people, and everything, like I said, can kind of grow from there too. So there is a connection from the strength and conditioning world into the business world when you're talking about communication. At the end of the day, if I have somebody coming in and they're talking about what they want to get out of a workout program or rehab program, they don't want to be sold. And I think most people can kind of tell when they're being sold. Not a lot of salesmen want to probably admit that, but if you can just be honest with people, and like when I talk to people, I try to tell them if I was in your position, this is what I would do. And sometimes that's not training with us, and that's fine. But if you can just actually be honest with people and communicate effectively with people, you'll be surprised how many people will want to work with you, even though it might not be the most affordable option or the overall best option for them, because they know that they can trust you. So, didn't really know where this was going to go when I started talking today, but wanted to get a quick little podcast in talking about just my overall experiences in the strength and conditioning world. And hopefully some of that can help you as a young strength coach. And even in the business world, can help you overall. Obviously, I think my overall encompass thing is go out, find places that you can get a hands-on experience, and then just learn how to communicate with everybody, with your interns, with your bosses, with your athletes, parents. If you can't communicate effectively with people, I think that's going to really be very negative overall in your career and probably overall in your life too. So spend that time learning how to effectively communicate with people. That's all I have today. We're going to start going more into just some specific stuff when it comes to rehab and training in the future. Just wanted to get some of this stuff out there, talking about my background, talking about things I can help with overall in the industry. So if you enjoyed that, please like, share, comment, whatever you want to do. Like I said, I'm just kind of kicking this back up. So excited to kind of see where it goes. Thanks, guys.